All right, Cyber Traders, welcome on back to close out our week for this Friday, May 13th. How about that? Friday the 13th here. I ended up prepping up here. I ended up crossing my fingers and toes. I got my necklace of garlic around me. I'm good to go. Hopefully you're good to go. Great to see Brian and Michael joining us live inside our trading room. Bill as well. I know that we had Michael before. We had Boris before. We had Norman and Robert. And perhaps if you're joining us on social media, Facebook Live or YouTube, welcome on back as well. So, folks, we were looking good. We were looking pretty good for a little while until we started to not look good. And that was really about like 30 minutes ago. The SPY was dragging back down off the highs that we had from earlier this morning. Now, hey, going into the day, were we expecting some sort of squeeze up? I mean, hey, we were expecting at least some short covering earlier in the week and didn't get it. So you can't really expect like really anything firmly. But, after the open, we saw a really nice move up within the market, and it was more of a continued move at that from pre. But, we ended up doing really nicely on a few different trades. AFRM, Robinhood, the Roblox trade, DraftKings, Coinbase, obviously, now Coinbase on the way down, but, at least earlier today ended up making a nice, slingshot, ended up bottoming out roughly around that 66 level. I had marked out 66.10, had a nice little entry at first, and then I ended up jumping back in, but left a lot on the table there, ended up getting out just under 69. And then from there ended up breaking out pretty nicely from that point. But, hey, for right now, it was looking good. And then the SPY ended up kind of tailing off. All right, well, maybe it could hold support. Maybe we could have, at least a little bit more of a bounce heading into the close, further short covering. If we get short covering here for the final 75, 85 minutes here of our day, then it was after this giant drop off first. So, very unexpected drop, in my opinion, to where we ended up seeing the SPY just re-break below 400, got crushed below it. And now at this point, it's trying to squeak back up a small amount, but again, nothing's really set in stone, folks. So this could easily be a false, shake up, and then we could see another move right back on down. So for right now, Coinbase, just given how volatile it is, albeit a little bit more expensive for what we normally trade and look out for, but it's very liquid. So in that regard, I'll definitely just put this on our main list again here for the afternoon. I wrote this in the trading room earlier. I ended up missing the short on this, not from 70, because you would assume 70 to actually be support, or at least a lot better of a support than it held. Just that was holding really nicely as resistance earlier. So resistance should become support. Well, it didn't become support. Once it slashed under 70, it slashed under the opening print, 69.37, I believe that was. And then from there, ended up dropping a bit. I wanted to get it on the retracement, but I ended up just stepping away for a bit. I looked back, and at that point, it was already down to like 66 and change. And, you don't want to chase. So, there's more time to trade this stock for the close. I have no sweat missing out on this last move. I know it looks like Michael B ended up catching, some good money on this trade just earlier, on a few trades, I'm sure. So, nice run from him. And, if you were able to partake on the way down on Coinbase, hey, it was a hell of a short just now, but for the afternoon, still provides really good opportunity here. All right. Now, I had from one of us just earlier, just kind of asking for my insight on Bitcoin, obviously Coinbase on the screen here. We'll talk about crypto and Bitcoin, namely here by the end of this afternoon meeting. I haven't really done an extended, recap of Bitcoin or analysis of that, really in a little while. It was more or less just as long as it's under 40,000, my thoughts on it. I've been saying that song and dance for, quite some time. And, hey, if it's not going to hold above 40,000, my stance. So, at that point, we were expecting a bit of a drop. We've had it. So we'll talk about crypto and Bitcoin, namely at the end of this meeting. Now, let's go right from top to bottom, though, otherwise, and let's see what else we got. I know that one of us had called out just a moment ago the Pixie trade moving back on up, I think, up to over 200%. Yeah, another push up towards the highs here across the afternoon. So, easily enough, we'll put the Pixie trade on our list. Normally we're not as catering towards these or catering to these, stocks below $1 as often. But on days, or not days like this, but on trades like this where you're seeing a stock just consistently run up, and it's making a retest of a pretty strong resistance for right now. It gives us a good, it provides us a chance, to try and anticipate a breakout. The view trade on the flip side, not doing as much right now. It seems pretty flat to me. It's not up as much, but still up over 45%. But, again, in terms of strength at this time of the day, I'd much rather the Pixie than the view. And then another one, I didn't even mean to click on this. PTE, another squeeze back up off, I guess, the lows here right now. A little move up, but not really doing a whole lot compared to pre-market or after the open. All right, now let's get to some stocks here, like some actual stocks. NOTV, not doing a whole lot either. That could be a buyout. I'm not going to check just to make sure, but well, that could be a buyout. VERU, VERU ended up having a huge pop after the market opened up. It was pushing up when Fausto was doing the morning meeting. So with that, you would like to anticipate a move up after the open at some point. Perhaps anticipate maybe a little consolidation or a slingshot where it pulls back and then pops. But damn, this thing ended up just going pretty quickly afterwards, didn't it? So ended up breaking out shortly afterwards from like 11 and then, pushed all the way up towards over 15. Now, one little rule of thumb, and we talk about this all the time inside our live trading room, it would simply just be the fact that for as much of a run as this stock is making, you can't expect continuation on the first test of a major resistance. So, that goes for every, 50-cent level or namely every whole number. So, at 12, 13, 14, and there could be times where it does break over it right away and run. So you would need to improvise in that sense. But look at what happened at 15. That's just where I bring up. Look at what happened at 15, where it broke above 15 the first time. It never came back. Right. So, it's better to be safe than sorry, especially heading into mid to late morning where the, momentum's dying off on a run like this and, the volume's, waning down pretty sharply. So with that, if this stock was shortable, this would be a better opportunity for us here heading into the close in my regard. But, maybe by the end of this meeting, if it makes another big move back up suddenly, maybe it'll get my attention again. All right. Fausto called out Payo, when we did our audio broadcast this morning inside Cyber Group. Ended up making a nice pop early on. And actually, as of right now, as of the, last 20, 30 minutes, pushing back up a little bit here. So, that's interesting, but seems pretty flat for right now, the last like 15, 20 minutes, really. So pop like 30 minutes ago, probably here. And then since it's just been flat. Again, another stock. If it ends up popping by the end of this meeting, if someone lets me know and I come back to it, then I wouldn't mind adding it to our list. Indie looking at least a little bit more active than that last one. Decent order book. Again, same to be said on this as the other. Just a little flat right now. Yeah. Remember, folks, it's a Friday, so as volatile as the markets have been, as much as we may look to see either more selling or more short covering in any regard, then it's also possible that we also have a pretty flat close where there's just not really a whole lot that's like making a sharp of a move. It's the first week in the month closing things out, so it's not like it's the end of the month like it was from last week, or the beginning of the month technically like it was just from the beginning of this week, like on Monday. So, with that, we'll see what happens. We'll see what the market can bring us here. It looks like the SPY is beginning to shake back down, kind of making that false breakout like I was insinuating it could make. Beyond Meat ended up making a nice pop. How about this to wrap up the gainer side for right now? Ended up making a nice pop from 26 upwards towards nearly 32. It took a little while to get that extra move going, filled out pretty nicely around 28, 50, 29, but ended up popping up pretty nicely afterwards. It just still remains relatively active. So, if you did well on the stock earlier today, and if you do well on the stock more days than not, hey, I'm sure that you'd be more inclined to put it on your personal list, right? But again, right now, I'm going to pass on it. We got Coin, got Pixie so far on the main watch list. We're not at like 0 so far. So, it's not really that bad of a scan through so far, folks. There could be more on the loser side anyway. Stem here, I guess, to wrap it up. Just tried breaking higher a moment ago here. Pulled back just a bit, but still pretty strong in relation to where it had opened up from. Compared to the lows, and wouldn't hurt us to put this one on our list. It's still trending up pretty nicely. So hopefully there's just more eyeballs on this stock here heading into the end of the day today. STEM, I don't mind at least putting this one on our list. Now, before I jump over to the loser side really quickly, just kind of catching it from the corner of my eye from the trading room, Norman calling out GWH, saying worth watching. Yeah, this looks really good, Norman. I appreciate the shout. Really nice pop. This thing was doing like nothing up until, well, just about 2:30. Prior to 2:30, it started to push up a little bit. I don't know if I skipped over this because it was like pretty much near the highs or like at the highs when we were doing the meeting. Maybe I skipped over this one. It's up 24%. There's definitely a few that I kind of like glossed over, skimmed over, and this could have been one. So really good call. I like it. Yeah, definitely goes near the top of our list for right now. Hopefully it's not a false move. Knock on wood as I say that, but just got a thin volume on the book to a degree. So just be a little careful, but definitely a nice call. All right, folks. Really quick, how about this? Tip of the day. Tip of the day. Nothing has prompted me to say this, by the way. There's nothing that triggered me or prompted me to say this. This is just kind of popping up in the back of my head. The difference between a good call out and the bad call out. Well, hey, Norman, this is like perfect timing on this from Norman here. Like, we didn't see this stock until he had called it out. And, it's not like he called it out 10 minutes after it popped. It's not like he jumped in the trade and then called it out 10 minutes. He called it out right away here. It's pushing up nicely. Now, if it craps out from this point, is that Norman's fault? Hell no. So, it's all about being aware. It's all about being aware and just trying to, make a timely call out inside our trading room. We don't control, what happens to this stock. It's just a matter of scanning for a stock that we would deem tradable and having it positioned where we would want it to be at this time of the day, which is, near or at the highs or lows. So, really good call. Norman says, I'm not in the stock, a bit late off of 5. That's all right. That's all right. It was a timely shout. All right, let's hop on over to the losers list here. Let's see what else we got. Because, hey, I always like to say, like, I feel like I make, like, really good call-outs in the trading room. I feel like I do, like, 99% of the time. But it could simply be a false breakout. It could be right place, wrong time. And the aftermath could be, like, ugly. It could be, like, a damn ugly false breakout. But it's based off a really good setup, a really good opportunity of a really strong breakout. It just goes the other way. So we teach you how to, react to that throughout class, throughout these Traders Talk workshops that we conduct inside our live trading room, throughout our one-on-one coaching, program, etc. So BRLT down over 30%. It is shortable. I skipped over the first two, if you don't mind. But this isn't really doing a whole lot right now, is it? The FIGS trade, FIGS, ended up making a nice drop earlier. It's funny, I was on a coaching call with one of our students earlier this morning, and I was talking to him exactly about that, exactly about the setup, the opportunity that a stock could provide you, depending on where it is, when you turn over to it. And with that, we turned over to it. I think it was like right here as we were finishing up our call, and it was like right off 950. And I'll just, long story short, it didn't even make the greatest of moves. It made the move that we were anticipating for it to make, where once it rebroke under 950 here, because we avoided the false breakouts at first, we came to it after. It led to a nice little drop at first. Now, ultimately it ended up squeezing back up. It flattened out, didn't really do, much after. But in terms of just like, looking for a level break and anticipating continuation of selling or buying for a stock, that's what we kind of like look for. So FIGS right now, it's doing nothing. I just wanted to bring that up because that was pretty good timing, just, with that topic that we were talking about. All right, let's see what else we got on the loser side here. Whole bunch of stuff. Hard to borrow. So you can't really short those. You can request shares from your broker. Technically, I'm just being efficient with my time. But we'll jump to Twitter. TWTR. Twitter for a $40 stock is not necessarily making the best of moves. I mean, it's trending down pretty steadily. So if you're in short, and if you're in short from like 42 or from like 41.50, you're doing pretty nice. But otherwise it's just been slowing down a bit on the way down. So it remains very tradable. I could easily put this on our list if I wanted to. I may at the end, again, I'll say this as I say on like other side list stocks. If you do really well on Twitter day to day, or if you've done well on Twitter today in specific, I'm sure you'd be more likely to put this on your personal main list. That's all. All right, let's see. So market is shaking a little bit back on up, tiny amount. So maybe we get one more pop perhaps, but let's see what we have otherwise, folks. If there's anything else up, down, left, right, more than 5% that you would want me to look at or check out, just type it in the chat board here. Let me know. Michael says casino stocks like Las Vegas Sands up over 13%. And near the high of the day. Yeah, I mean, well, I'll tell you what, that's why I ask. Like, we got to work together as a team because, like, number 50 or whatever is like up 17 or 18%. So, I definitely need a little help in that regard. We could build a pretty big list if there's a lot that looks just like LVS, because it's hard to not put LVS on our main list right now, right? So I'm gonna write all of these down. I'm gonna try and cherry pick like maybe like the best two or three because we'll see. So not all of the casino stocks. How about that? So they're not all moving together. Penn is like just kind of like making a head and shoulders pattern here, if anything. MGM maybe. Nope. All right. So LVS is looking all right, Mike. Did they come out with earnings? I'll ask you. Maybe no, but I mean they're looking pretty strong here for the afternoon. So my assumption would be yes, or otherwise some news came out. So you know what? I will put LVS in specific on our list. I just figured it was going to be like kind of like a general group of stocks that were moving together. But no, I mean AAL is holding up pretty strong here, pushing back up to 1650. So, maybe the airlines once again we kind of tail on our watch list here for the afternoon. I believe we did that yesterday. UAL pushing up a little. Give me a quick sec. I thought my chat was like messed up here. Randy, sorry about that. I'm going to delete your post there just for a moment there. It may have been a typo, but Caesars, I saw your post there. Uh, latest saying Nikola just teasing. I'll check it out in just a bit. So, the airlines, I don't know. I'll keep them on the side list. Maybe AAL looks the strongest of those. Nikola does look pretty interesting. That is at the highs, similar to LVS. So that I'll definitely consider. Let's check out my lovely Neo. I ended up going break even, Michael, on my Neo short. I ended up looking for a short on that continued move down. It was looking good at first, but then just I realized it wasn't going anywhere. So I was in and out from 1397. Bill says LVS moving with hopes of China reopening up. Oh, okay. Good day for a win early, but not now. It's making a move back up. It's making a move back up similar to LVS. LVS is just, looking a lot stronger here at this point. All right, got Dan on YouTube also kind of seconding Nikola, like later wrote in the trading room before him. Then RJF says VERU. Ooh, look at him. RJF, good for you, man. He got 50 cents per share on VERU just now, I believe from 1250. In and out very nicely. So, hey, that's basically what I would say on this type of stock. Maybe even it could push up higher, but it popped up so nicely earlier. It, fell back down, fizzled out. It's traded this type of volume in the past, back in early to mid-April, but it hasn't since then. So I'd say, relatively speaking, it's more likely to be exhausted at this point. Maybe you get a little bit more of a push up going into the afternoon for about like 20, 30 cents. But, if you're up 50 cents on that trade from a good entry point, if anything, like that was a good entry at 1250, you don't want to waste that. So, that was a nice decision, I think, there, RJF. All right, folks, I think that just about wraps it up. I do want to jump to crypto here before we close out in full. I do have to actually just I gotta send out one of our coaching links right now before 3 o'clock. Actually, I failed to do that before we started. So I'll be brief with Bitcoin. But one of us had asked, what's going on with Bitcoin? What's my thoughts on it here, at least for the short term? So I'll bring it up. I might get booted off trading view here in the process, but all good. I don't have my moving averages or other indicators up here as well, but let me even just jump to well, I'll start off on the hourly. So nonetheless, for as much as Bitcoin ended up dropping off, you would anticipate a decent, squeeze back up at some point. But when is that going to be? Right? Like I'm not confident enough to anticipate when that serious squeeze up will be. For as much as it will drop down, you'll get some smaller, bumps back up like from 25,500 up towards 31. Hey, to some that might seem like a pretty big squeeze, but relatively speaking, not really as much because it had dropped off from like 42, 43,000 from like a week or two ago. So, that's where I just say otherwise, we got to see a more serious squeeze back up. And when will that be? I think it will just probably take a little bit longer than anticipated. I think that given how much Bitcoin is shorted and given the scarcity of Bitcoin overall, I think that you'll get some squeezes back up over time, but nothing very serious unless if the markets make a full-fledged reversal. That obviously will change the dynamic on Bitcoin. But in terms of a long-term support, I've been mentioning this back from late January, and I still stand true to it, especially more now than ever at this point. But it's to say that, I expect this to drop down lower towards 20,000, towards 18,000. I'll be buying in the process long term. So I've been acting more as a day trader over the last couple of months with Bitcoin, which actually has not treated me as nicely as I thought it would. So, I'm scrapping that. I'm back towards like kind of just buying throughout certain support levels. And whether it ends up breaking and dropping off to the next support level or not, well, for me, long term for 5 or 10 years worth, I think I'll be happy. So, at this point right now, I haven't really pulled the trigger on doing that just yet. I haven't added more, really in a little while. So, right now I want to see this begin to pull back a little bit more towards 27,000. And then I'll look to really begin to buy a lot more. If we happen to see a bigger pop over this weekend, then we'll look to see support hold from a higher low, right? We always have to improvise. We can never be perfect with, and this goes for any sort of asset trading that you're doing, whether it be, commodities, whether it be for stock trading like we do inside the Cyber Group trading room here, or crypto. It's just, and especially with crypto because of how volatile it is. Geez. But we can't be perfect with, where we're looking to, buy and sell or anticipate perfect tops and bottoms. We have buy and sell zones and approximations and ranges. So that's what we focus on, right? 25,000, one would be led to believe that that would be a very strong psychological support level. So over time, could it pull back down closer towards there? I am led to believe so. And then we'll see if that holds. But if that doesn't hold, then I would like to think 20,000, maybe even lower, 18,000 over time. People fail to remember that Bitcoin, has peaked in the past on a couple of different occasions back in, December or January. And a lot of us, and myself included, were hoping for that to be the case this cycle. Well, it peaked earlier, peaked in October, November. So, don't be surprised if we happen to have a decent amount of time of a drop off and consolidation period before we get a real serious squeeze back up. All right, so I didn't have any fancy schmancy indicators up like I do at times there, but I'll do another one of those recap videos up probably in the next week or so. Anything last call from all of us on YouTube Live, Facebook Live, or from the Cyber Group room? Let me know. From Ashen saying CLSK, just wonder as an ST 21% recovered already. Let me see. Well, from the bottom to where it's at now, it's made a nice little squeeze back up so far. Clean Spark, it's one that we've traded in the past. SPY making a nice little push back up right now, which is lovely to see. Hey, Clean Spark, it's up 22%. This could have a nice little push to it, but I feel like it's traded a lot of volume today, and it's not really trading a whole lot of volume per minute right now. So, it's got to do a little bit more here at this point for it to gain our attention a little bit more. I feel like I like the list that we have so far. So unless if anything really begins to, pop or make a big move that can grab our attention a lot further, I think I'm going to start and stick with this list here in a bit. All right, folks, for all of us on Facebook Live, for all of us on YouTube, TGIF, enjoy the weekend. We'll catch you folks back here on Monday. But if you have any other questions or thoughts or any comments that you would like to share over with myself, feel more than free to send it on over to josh@c2trading.com. I always like to post my emails here at the end of these streams, just in case if you have any questions here. But otherwise, if you wanted to join us inside our live trading room, feel more than free to go right down to the link on the yellow banner below, right there on the stream, to get yourself started. But for Leda, for Bill, for Brian, Michael, Norman, for all of us live here, inside the Cyber Group room, I'll be back on the mic right at 3:30 Eastern time, just wrapping us up here heading into the weekend. Talk to you all soon.
Become a Cyber Group member today. Just click the link below and receive all these amazing products and a world of knowledge for just $9. Do it today.